Today we are going to complete our study for the story of Old Yeller. Before we start this part, who can answer me? What is the genre of the story? What's the genre of the story? Please be organized and raise your hand. Don't speak without permission. Yes, Amr Hussein.
It will be a Mr. Fiction.
Huh?
Historical fiction.
Can you explain it?
It's fiction that takes place in the past.
Excellent, Tom, yes. We said that the genre of the story is historical fiction. Historical fiction, as we said, fiction that happened in the past. Another question, who are the characters of the story? Who can answer? Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand. Yes, Abdullah Tamim. Can you answer?
Okay, Mr. The characters
Yes.
are the dog Old Yeller,
Yes.
Arnold's mom, and
Yes.
his brother Travis, and
Yes.
Arnold.
His brother's name Travis. Travis.
So which
Arnold,
page?
the mother and the Old Yeller. Page 32. Page 32. Thanks so much, Abdullah and Munda. What is the setting of the story? What is the setting of the story? Muhammad Amr. Before you answer, what I mean by the setting?
The time and place.
Yes, excellent. What is the setting of the story Old Yeller?
In the frontier of Texas in
18. 67. 1867. Yes. So the setting again, the frontier of Texas, 1867. Well done, Muhammad Aram. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir, I am here.
Yes. Another question. How old was Travis?
Mr. Me, please.
Yes.
Be Mr. 14 years old.
Okay, Amr, please give you the chance for the other please, okay? Thanks so much, Amr.
Mr. I answered it.
Okay, Wahiddin.
Yes, sir.
How old is little Arliss? Yes, how old is little Arliss? Just
5 years old.
5 years old. Well done. Who asked
Mr.
about
I
the
wrote
page
you
number?
the page on top left.
Okay, who asked about the page number? Thanks so much, Amr. Page 32, okay?
You're welcome.
Again, how old was little Arliss? You said he was 5 years, or he's 5 years old. What was the reaction of little Arliss' mother and Travis towards you can say towards Travis lying? What was their reaction? Who can answer? Who can answer?
What's the question? What's the question again?
What was the reaction of little Arliss' mother and Travis towards little Arliss lying?
I know, Mr. Abdullah.
Another one, except you, Abdullah, huh? Who can answer?
Mister, what is the question again? What is the question again?
What is the reaction of little Arliss' mother towards Arliss lying? Does she accept his lying or no? His mother. Muhammad Amr.
Didn't accept.
Travis didn't accept his lies and was angry for him, but
Yes.
the mother was laughing.
Yes, and ask Travis what?
To be
To
be
let
good
his brother,
with his little brother. Let his little brother do what he wants.
yes, do what he wanted and let him alone. Thanks so much, Muhammad. Today we are going to complete our study for this story. We have also a dangerous situation that happened to little Ernest. What was this situation? Little Ernest tried to catch a young bear, a cub bear. While he was trying to catch this young bear, the mother bear saw little Ernest. And then she started, I say she because it's a character. I can say it, not she. But here it's a character. She attacked little Ernest and tried to save her cub. But the dog, Oddiener, when he saw this situation, he tried to save his honor, little Ernest. I can show you this part of the story in a video. Okay? Can you wait to show me to show you this video, please?
Okay.
I share the video. Just listen and watch this dangerous situation.
Oh God. I can't.
WWE. Mister, you have nice, Mister.
What? What, mister?
Mister, this is how animals fight.
Yes. When little Arliss tried, listen to me.
ليش والله سريع سريع يما روح
Mister, you have
ما اسكت يما بعد الدواء
listen to me, listen. Sorry, as I told you, I'm in Jordan. Just listen to me, okay? For this video, as we said, little Arliss tried to catch a young bear, and the mother bear saw him. So she tried to save her young cub, or her cub, as we said. How? By attacking little Arliss. When the dog saw this situation, he tried to save little Arliss from the big bear. Okay, you follow me? I'm really sorry for this noise, but you know the problem. Okay, till now you follow me. So I start this video from the beginning again. Okay.
Mister, make the sound of the video low because it was very loud.
Okay.
Mister, you have people talking with you, Mister.
Mister.
Mister, you have noise, Mister.
Mister, you are in the school, yeah, Mister.
No, not in this.
Mister, you are in school.
The voice of Mr. Mister, there is a voice of Mr.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed was me, Jordan. Sorry. Okay, me and Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Ibrahim. Okay. That's all for this dangerous situation in this part of this term. Okay. Now we are going to listen for the track of the book. Open your book, page 32. Page 32. Start to listen, please, and pay attention. Okay. Maybe I ask you to any question that you can highlight for some paragraphs or some or sublines in this page. Okay. Just pay attention. Be ready to listen and open your book. During listening, please don't interrupt me and just listen. Don't raise your hand. I'll mute for all of you till we listen to me. Till we finish listening for this part of the story. Be ready to listen, please.
All of which I figure is what led up to little Arliss's catching the bear. I think Mama had let him tell so many big yarns about his catching live game that he'd begun to believe them himself. When it happened, I was down the creek a ways, splitting rails to fix up the yard fence where the bulls had torn it down. I'd been down there since dinner, working in a stand of tall, slim post oaks. I'd chop down a tree, trim off the branches as far up as I wanted, then cut away the rest of the top. After that, I'd start splitting the log. I'd split the log by
So for Travis, what was Travis doing? What was Travis doing? It was what he said. I was down the creek a ways, splitting rails to fix up the yard fence, where the paws had torn it down. I'd been down there since dinner, working in a stand of all slim post oaks. I chopped means that he cut what I chopped down a tree, trim off the branches as far up as I wanted, then cut away the rest of the top. After that, I'd start splitting the log. He started to make a fence for maybe for some animals that we have. Okay, let's listen, please.
driving steel wedges into the wood. I'd start at the big end and hammer in a wedge with the back side of my axe. This would start a little split running lengthwise of the log. Then I'd take a second wedge and drive it into this split. This would split the log further along and, at the same time, loosen the first wedge. I'd then knock the first wedge loose and move it up in front of the second one. Driving one wedge ahead of the other like that, I could finally split a log in two halves. Then I'd go to work on the halves, splitting them apart. That way, from each log, I'd come out with 4 rails. Swinging that chopping axe was sure hard work. The sweat poured off me. My back muscles ached. The axe got so heavy I could hardly swing it. My breath got harder and harder to breathe.
In these two paragraphs, he show how hard how hard Travis was working for making this fence. Okay, as he said, my brains got harder and harder to breathe. What happened after that?
An hour before sundown, I was worn down to a nub. It seemed like I couldn't.
What does it mean by the word nub? What does it mean by the word nub? If you want to answer, raise your hand. I can select and I'll make unmute for you. Yes, Yusuf Ahmed.
Small piece.
Excellent. Nub means small piece. Can you give me example, Yusuf? Give me an example.
Uh, my brother ate a nub
Ate a nub. Ate a nub.
ate a nub of the food.
Ate a nub of food or ate a nub of bread. Yes. Well done, Yusuf Ahmed. Thanks so much, Yusuf. Let's complete listening, all of you.
Hit another lick. Papa could have lasted till past sundown, but I didn't see how I could. I shouldered my axe and started toward the cabin, trying to think up some excuse to tell Mama to keep her from knowing I was played clear out. That's when I heard little Arliss scream. Well, little Arliss was a screamer by nature. He'd scream when he was happy and scream when he was mad, and a lot of times he'd scream just to hear himself make a noise. Generally, we paid no more mind to his screaming than we did to the boggle of a wild turkey.
Yes, as he stated in this paragraph, he said that little Ernest always was what was a screamer by nature. He'd scream when he was happy, when he was mad, and a lot of time he'd scream just to hear himself make a noise. But at this time, he was sure that his brother is dangerous. Why? Because he heard the sound of Big Bear. How he knows this sound, how he recognized on this sound. In the past, his father saved his mother from a big bear that tried to attack her in the past, and he killed it with his knife. So he was able to recognize on the sound of this animal. So he understood that his brother is in danger. Let's listen for this part. When he heard the scream of his brother, what happened? Let's listen.
My heart went to pushing up into my throat, nearly choking off my wind. I strained for every lick of speed I could get out of my running legs. I didn't know what sort of fix little Arliss had got himself into, but I knew that it had to do with a mad bear, which was enough. The way the late sun slanted through the trees had the trail all cross-banded with streaks of bright light and dark shade. I ran through these bright and dark patches so fast that the changing light nearly blinded me. Then suddenly I raced out into the open where I could see ahead, and what I saw sent a chill clear through to the marrow of my bones. There was little Arliss down in that spring hole again. He was lying half in and half out of the water, holding onto the hind leg of a little black bear cub no bigger than a small coon. The bear cub was out on the bank, whimpering and crying and clawing the rocks with all three of his other feet, trying to pull away. But little Arliss was holding on for all he was worth, scared now and screaming his head off, too scared to let go. How the bear cub ever came to prowl close enough for little Arliss to grab him, I don't know. And why he didn't turn on him and bite loose, I couldn't figure out either. Unless he was like little Arliss, too scared to think. But all of that didn't matter now. What mattered was the bear cub's mama. She'd heard the cries of her baby and was coming to save him. She was coming so fast that she had the brush popping and breaking as she crashed through and over it. I could see her black, heavy figure piling off down the slant on the far side of Birdsong Creek. She was roaring mad and ready to kill. And worst of all, I could see that I'd never get there in time. Mama couldn't either. She'd heard Arliss too, and here she came from the cabin, running down the slant toward the spring, screaming at Arliss, telling him to turn the bear cub loose. But little Arliss wouldn't do it. All he'd do was hang with that hind leg and let out one shrill shriek after another as fast as he could suck in a breath.
So, how Travis recognized on the sound of the bear? If you know the answer, raise your hand. I open the mic for all of you. You have the ability to turn on your mic.
Mister, what is the question?
How Travis recognized on the sound of the bear?
Mr. You missed the bridge. 33, you didn't make it.
Sorry, 33. Oh yes,
Yes,
escape it.
mister, I was about to read it.
I'm really sorry. Let me replace the size of the page. We listen for page 434 before 33, yes?
Yes.
I'm really sorry. Okay, page 33. Page 33. That's what I'm going to ask about. Okay, let's listen together.
But this time was different. The second I heard his screaming, I felt my heart flop clear over. This time I knew little Arliss was in real trouble. I tore out up the trail leading toward the cabin. A minute before, I'd been so tired out with my rail splitting that I couldn't have struck a trot. But now I raced through the tall trees in that creek bottom, covering ground like a scared wolf. Little Arliss's second scream, when it came, was louder and shriller and more frantic sounding than the first. Mixed with it was a whimpering crying sound that I knew didn't come from him. It was a sound I'd heard before and seemed like I ought to know what it was, but right then I couldn't place it. Then, from way off to one side came a sound that I would have recognized anywhere. It was the coughing roar of a charging bear. I'd just heard it once in my life. That was the time Mama had shot and wounded a hog-killing bear, and Papa had had to finish it off with a knife to keep it from getting her.
So how did Travis recognize the sound of the bear? How did he hear this lesson before? Did he hear this sound before?
Yes.
When?
When
Huh?
when the mom had shot and wounded a hog-killing bear.
Yes, when there is a hog-killing bear tried to attack his mother in the past, but his father had to finish it off with a knife to keep it from getting his mother. Yes, is it clear?
Yes.
So please highlight for this paragraph. Let's start from then. Highlight. It was the coughing roar of a charging bear. Highlight from this line till the end of this paragraph. I can show you from this part by using the annotation. This part in me.
Mister, you will send the question, Mister, of the.
Yes, my dear. Yes. Yes. You are going to highlight for this part. Okay.
Mister, I will use the pen because the highlighter.
Okay, use your pen, your pencil.
bad.
There is no problem. Okay. From the word it. Okay, from here. Okay, till the end of this paragraph. Sorry. Sit down. Amelia, just listen, please. Have you highlighted?
Yes.
Okay, Amelia. This is the question. This is one of the questions of today. Okay, the question again. How did Travis recognize on the sound of the bear? Ahmed Musanna, can you answer?
Yes, mister.
How did Travis recognize on the sound of the bear? How we know? Yes, how we know this sound?
I think the bear started to be mad and started
Listen to
following
me, Ahmed.
little
Listen.
Arliss.
Listen and understand the question before answering. I said, how did Travis recognize on the sound of the bear that tried to attack little Arliss? Did he hear this sound before?
No.
How no? We said, Ahmed Muhammad.
Yes, teacher.
Yes. Did Travis hear this sound before?
Did he what?
Did he hear this sound before, the sound of bear?
Yes.
When?
When his mom was trying to kill the bear.
When there is a bear when there was a bear tried to attack his mother, yes, and she had shot and wounded it, and his father had to finish it off with a knife to keep it from him. Is it okay, Ahmed Muhammad?
Yes.
Thank you much, Ahmed.
Yeah.
Ahmed Muhammad Meher. Okay, thank you. Let's complete listening for the next page. And after that, we are going to read.
My heart went to pushing up into my throat, nearly choking off my wind. I strained for every lick of speed I could get out of my running legs. I didn't know what sort of fix little Arliss had got himself into, but I knew that it had to do with a mad bear, which was enough. The way the late sun slanted through the trees had the trail all cross-banded with streaks of bright light and dark shade. I ran through
In this paragraph, the author describes the situation of dragging the young bear by little arms and how his mother warned him to let the little bear, but the little arms refused to let it or let him.
Mister, you have noise.
Sorry, try to accept me, sir. Yes, my dear. Yes, why you raise your hand? Yes,
Sir, because you're not talking.
yes, I made mute for all you to be able to listen, and I made the sound just because I have noise here. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the problem. Okay, and now we are going to answer some questions. Then we are going to start to read the start. Okay, be ready to answer the question. If you know the answer, raise your hand without making any noise. Just raise your hand automatically through the program, please. You can see the screen or not?
We can see it.
Okay.
Yes, Mister, you can see it.
Okay. What can you see in front of you?
There's 35. No, there's 34.
Okay.
There's 34.
34. So let me share this board. Now you can see the screen of PowerPoint presentation. Now you can see it. Okay, the first question. Who cannot see?
Me.
Okay, I
Mister, we
stop.
can see. We can.
Sir, we can't see.
Okay, I stop sharing, then I share again.
No, Mister, I was seeing.
Mister, I can see.
Okay, now you can see.
Not here.
We already
Yeah. Now we can.
No.
Okay.
called yellow.
If you can answer, Ahmed Musanna, don't speak without permission, please. Now you can answer the question, okay? Question number 1. Amr Hussein, read the question, please.
And how did Travis realize that the sound that he heard was a sound of charging bear? Because the Mister, because the bear
Can you wait, Ahmed?
came in the first
Sorry.
of the story at his mom.
Wait, please, to ask someone. Just,
Mister, this is in the booklet.
yes, I'm with you. Yes, I'm with you. Yes, Sam.
Teacher, this is the booklet.
No, no, no. Can you read the question? Huh. Amr Hussein.
Teacher, this is the
Yes,
booklet.
mister.
No, not this is not the booklet. This question of today. Can you read?
Okay, how did Travis realize that the sound that he heard was a sound of a charging
Bear. Yes. How this happened?
because in the first of the story, the bear came at his mouth.
Again, please.
Because at the first of the story, the bear came at his mouth.
In the past, his mother was
In the
attacked by a
past,
big bear or
yeah.
hugging, killing, as it's written, killing the bear. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. And what happened and after that?
Mr. Right this way.
Uh,
Hmm? His father killed it with his knife. Okay.
okay.
Read the answer,
Okay.
please. Read the answer.
We have a Mr. Literature quiz on Monday,
Yes,
Right this way,
tomorrow
Mr.
spelling and phonics.
and you
Read
don't have literature.
literature. We have literature on Monday, grammar on Tuesday. Please read the answer.
Mr. Right where?
Don't write. I said read the answer. This question I sent you on the
He
WhatsApp.
heard this
Mr.
sound
Mr. When
once
Mr. will solve in the
in his
booklet.
life.
Mr. When will solve in the booklet.
And I don't understand why ask this question now. Listen to me, please. I said for the booklet we have two sessions for answering the booklet. No need to ask me again. It will be arranged in the weekend lab. Okay. Okay, grade 6. Stop asking me any question while you answering any questions. Okay. I'm ready to answer this.
Okay, mister. He heard this sound once in his life. That was when his mother had shot and wanted a hog killing bear, and his father had to finish it off with a knife to keep it from getting hurt.
Yes, I read this part again. He heard this sound once in his life. That was when his mother had shot and wounded a killing a bear, and his father had to finish it off with a knife to keep it from getting hurt. I'm really sorry for this noise, my dear students.
Okay, mister. No
You know the conditions, the hard conditions that we have. Yes, question number 2. Who is all dealer? How was it helpful to the family? We know that that little Arliss was attacked by the big bear. Am I right? Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. R.
Yes. What
Yes,
the dog?
yes,
What
little bit
was the dog rule in at this part? We said that he tried to save little Arliss. Yes, and we said that he was helping little Arliss in catching animals and insects. You remember?
Yes.
Okay. Who can answer this question?
Mr. Me, can I answer please? Me, Muhammad Amr.
Muhammad, you answer for many times. Muhammad Faris. Sorry, Muhammad. Muhammad Faris.
Yes, Mr.
Yes, can you answer the question number 2? Sorry. I'm really sorry. Yes, Muhammad Faris.
Okay. Who is the old dealer? How was it helpful to the family?
Yes. Who is the old dealer? Which character in the story?
The
Huh?
family.
Which character in the story, old dealer? Is it a man, girl, what? An animal? Huh?
The dog.
It's a dog, yes. So odd dinner is what is the dog family, yes? Muhammad, don't mute yourself, please.
Okay.
Odd girl we said is the dog family, the dog of the family, yes?
Yes.
How was it helpful to the family? Huh? What was the dog rules with little Arliss?
He
Yes, he was helping him. Huh? In what?
in fighting insects, catching insects.
Amazing, why you answer? I said Muhammad first and he stopped me mute himself. Why? Muhammad first.
I
Muhammad first, why you mute yourself? Why you muted yourself? I didn't finish. You didn't finish your answer. Huh? How was it helpful to the family? What was the dog rules?
He was help the little Ormus in catch fishing.
In
In
catching
fish.
animals and insects, yes?
Yes.
And you said that he saved Arle's life from the bear attack.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks so much from the first, but please next time, if I ask you, don't mute yourself again, please. Let I finish and ask you to mute yourself, you can do that. Thanks so much, Muhammad. This is the last question of today, okay? The last question of today. And now we are going to read this time, one by one, okay? I'll not leave anyone without reading. All of you will need to read. Sure. All of you have the book?
Yes.
yes, yes.
Okay, my dear, okay. You can start. Select one and select one by one to start reading. No need to make any noise. Okay, just raise your hand, and if you read, lower it. Okay, all of you raise your hand now. All of you raise your hand, and after reading, lower it. Okay.
But Mr. I don't hear you.
Again, all of you raise your hand. After reading, lower it to know the one who is reading and the one who didn't read. We are going to start from page 30 to 32. Okay. I select now.
Okay, Mr.
For the one who I asked to start reading, lower your hand and start reading. Okay. Amr Hussein. Amr Hussein.
Yes, mister. Yeah.
Start reading. Wait, Amr. I'll make mute for all. Okay, and the one who is reading only, can I open the mic for you? Hussein. I ask you to unmute.
Yes, mister.
Yes, start reading.
Mister, I don't see your share screen. I only see
You have the book, Amr,
English.
no? You have the book? Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
I have.
you have the book, so open the book. I shared the screen with you, sorry. I forgot.
From page 33, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before reading, all of you understood what I explained today for this part?
Yeah.
I ask you, all of you, please reply to me. Have you understood this part of today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, my dear. Okay.
Bye, sir.
Ahmed Musanna. So, Amr Hussein, start reading. Start on.
Okay, mister.
Yes.
But this time was different.
All of which, this is what, which what?
33.
I said 32, yes?
Okay.
52, then
I said
34.
to you 33 and you said yes, but okay. 32.
Yes, start please.
All of which I figure is what led up to little Arliss catching the bear. I think Mama had let him tell so many big
Yes.
yarns about his catching live game that he'd began to believe themselves. When it happened, I was down the creek a ways, splitting grills to fix up
Splitting,
the yard fence,
splitting, listen. Splitting rails to fix
splitting
up.
grills to fix up the yard fence where the bulls had torn it down. I'd been down there since dinner, working in a stand of tall, slim post oaks. I'd chop down a tree, trim off the branches as far up as I wanted, then cut away the rest of the top. After that, I'd start splitting the log.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Amr Hussein, or Dr.
You're
Amr
welcome.
Hussein. Oh, okay. Lower your hand, Amr Hussein, and mute yourself,
Okay,
please.
Mr. Sorry.
Mute yourself. Muhammad Amr. Muhammad Amr, start reading.
Okay, Mr. Split, I am.
Okay, from the third paragraph, I split.
I split the log by driving steel wedges into the wood. I would start at the big end and hammer in a wedge with the back side of my axe. This would start a little split running lengthwise of the log. Then I'd take a second wedge and drive it into this split. It would split the log further along and at the same time loosen the first wedge. I would then knock the first wedge loose and move it up in front of the second one.
Yes,
Drive, driving,
driving one which.
okay, driving one wedge ahead of the other like that, I could finally split a log into halves. Then I would go to work on the half, splitting them apart. That way, from each log, I would come out with 4 rails. Mr.
Thanks so
Reed,
much. Yes, thanks so much, Muhammad.
Mr. Can I
Yes.
stay unmuted if I have a question? I will leave
No,
now.
please mute yourself and learn your hands. Okay. If you have a question, send on the chatting box. Basil, Basil, start reading. Basil,
Yes, mister.
yes, start reading.
Okay. Mister, wait, I will close the mic, okay?
Why?
From where I will start?
From an hour before sundown.
Mister, wait.
An hour before sundown. Start, Basil. Basil, can you start, please? Basil. I don't mute you, Basil. You mute yourself. Basil, I ask you to unmute.
Yes, mister,
Yes,
yes.
start, please.
In page 32, yes?
Yes, the same page. I said an hour before sundown. This part. Okay.
An hour before sundown, I was worn down to a nap. It seemed like I couldn't hit another leg.
Yes.
Papa could have lasted till past sundown, but I didn't see how I could. I
Yes.
shouldered my axe, started to work. The cabin trying to trying
Yes.
to think up some excuse to tell Mama if it came from knowing I stayed clear out. What's when I heard little Arliss scream? Well, little Arliss was a screamer by nature. He'd
Huh?
He screamed when he was happy
He'd scream
and when he was
again, again. He'd scream. Listen. Well, little
yes.
Arliss was a screamer by nature. He'd scream when he was
He
happy
screamed
and
when
scream
he
when he
was
was
happy
yes.
and screamed when he was mad and scream and lot of times he'd scream just to hear himself make a noise.
Just to hear again, just to hear.
Just to hear himself make a noise.
Huh?
Generally,
Generally,
we paid no more
generally,
mind.
we paid no
Generally,
more. Huh?
we paid no more mind to his screaming than we did to the bugle,
Yes,
a wild,
of a wild
turkey.
turkey. Again, turkey. Can you say
Turkey.
again? Say again.
Turkey.
Yes, thanks so much, Ibis. Lower your hand and mute yourself, please. Okay. The one who will read after Basil is Ahmed Muhammad Meher. I ask you to unmute to start reading, Ahmed.
But this time was different. The second I heard his screaming, I felt my heart flop clear over. This time I knew little Orlis was in
Sorry, Ahmed, wait
real
for me.
trouble.
Wait. I move this page. Yes, read Ahmed Meher.
But this
Yes.
different. The second I heard his screaming, I felt my heart flop clear over. This time I knew little Orlis was in real trouble. I tore out up the trail leading towards the cabin. A minute before,
Yes.
I did been so tired out with my rail splitting that I couldn't have struck a torch. But now I raced through the tall trees in that shriek bottom, covering ground like a spread
Listen to me, Ahmed.
creek.
Creek, listen to me. How can you produce the sound of the letter C? In a simple way, in a simple way, if the letter C followed by the letter I, Y, we produce the sound C as it is C. Okay, C. But if the letter C followed by any other letter, it would be K. Like C followed here by the letter R, so it would be break, not as what you say. Okay, Ahmed Meher.
Okay.
So this grade
Tall
six,
trees in that creek.
This grade 6. Put this rule in your mind. If the letter C followed by I, E, Y, the sound will be produced like C. Okay? But if it followed by any other letter, the sound will be K. K sound. Okay? K. Like cat, like car, like cucumber, okay? Like coat. Okay? Yes, complete Ahmed Meher.
Trees in that creek. Trees in that creek. Bottom. Covering ground like a scared wolf. Little Orla's second scream, when it came, was louder and shriller and more frantic sounding than the first. Mixed with it was a whimpering, crying sound that I knew
Yes.
didn't come from him. It was a sound I did hear before
Here.
and see
Listen.
I
I'm
did
here
hear I had heard I'd
before.
heard before and seemed like
I ought to know
I
what it
ought
was.
I ought to know what it was. But right then I couldn't place it.
Yes. Thanks so much, Ahmed. Man. Thanks so much. You can mute
Continue.
yourself. No, thanks so much. Mute yourself, and I'll ask another one to complete reading. Mazen Mustafa. Mazen.
Yes.
Yes, start reading.
Okay. I forgot from where. Can you told me?
You don't pay attention. You didn't forget me. Amazing. Okay. So start from here, then from away, then from way off. Okay. Please pay attention next time. Then from way off. Start amazing. You mute yourself. Okay. I asked you to unmute.
Yes.
Yes, miss. Start.
Then from way off to one side came a sound that would have
Listen, that I would have recognized in where.
that I would have recognized anyways.
Recognize, listen. Recognize.
Recognize.
Again,
Recognize.
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 Yes, huh? Complete.
Anywhere. It was coughing roar of a charging bear. I would just hear it once in my life. That was the time Mama had shot and wouldn't a hog killing bear, and Baba had had to finish it off with a knife to keep it from getting here. Mister, you hear me? Mister, you hear me?
Yes, sir. I make it because I have an answer. Yes, Mazen. If the letter K followed by the letter N, okay, the K will be silent. Okay, so I said knife. Okay, knife.
It will be nice.
Yes, like the letter W, if it followed by R. Okay, so the W will be silent. I
Okay.
can say, for example, right. So it's maybe the sound of the letter W. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Complete reading the next page, page 34.
Page 34.
Yes. Let me decrease the size to be able to see this page. Yes. Read the first paragraph of this page. Amazing.
My heart went to pushing up into my throat, nearly choking off my wind. I strained for every click
Yes.
of speed I could get out of my running legs. I didn't know what sort of fix
Mm.
little Arles had got himself into, but I know that it had to do with
Yes.
a mad bear, which was enough. The way
That's
the
enough for you. Amazing. Thanks so much.
okay, I'll mute my.
Yes, mute yourself. I'll ask another one to complete. My question, you are 29. You are 29, all the class. Okay. Abdullah Tamim. Abdullah Tamim.
Yes, mister, I'm with you.
Yes, start reading the second paragraph in page 34.
Okay, mister, wait a minute. I'm only returning the page. Okay, mister, the second paragraph.
Yes.
Mister,
Yes, I'm with you.
second paragraph.
Yes, Abdullah, yes.
Okay. The way the late sun slanted through the tree and the trail all cross-banded with streaks of bright light
Again from the
and
beginning.
dark.
Again, please, Abdullah, from the beginning.
Okay. The way
The late sun slanted through the trees.
uh, had the trail all cross-banded with streaks of bright light and
Yes.
dark shade.
Yes.
I ran through these bright and dark branches so fast that that the changing light nearly blinded me. Then suddenly I raced out into the open where I could see ahead, and what I saw sent a chill clear through to the marrow of
Chill
my
clear. Listen,
bones.
listen, Abdullah. Chill clear through to the marrow of my bones. Abdullah, what I want from you, okay, please try to practice more on reading, okay? Okay, Abdullah, to improve your reading, please
Okay,
read more at home and listen more, okay? Thanks so much, Abdullah.
okay.
Abdullah on the guard. Mute yourself, Abdullah. Okay, Abdullah on the guard. Abdullah on the guard. Abdullah, I ask you to answer. Abdullah, sorry, to read. I ask you to read. Abdullah on the guard. Adnan. Yes, can you answer? Yes, sorry, can you read Adnan? Adnan.
Yes, Mister.
Yes, start reading. Abdullah, you'll read after Adnan.
Mister.
Sorry, because you are late in replying. You'll read after Adnan. Yes, Adnan, start reading. I can't hear anything.
Mister, I can.
Can you hear me, Adnan?
What, Mister?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I asked you to read. You can see? Make it bigger. Now can you read?
Yes, yes.
Start, please. The way, again, this paragraph, the way Adnan. I can't hear anything, Adnan. I think that you have problem in the mic. Sorry. Abdullah Nagar, start reading. Abdullah Nagar. Abdullah Nagar, start reading. No, what's the problem? Ahmed Musanna,
Yes, Mister.
start reading,
Mister,
Ahmed. Yes, mister.
Tal said he wants to go drink water, and Mr. Abdullah Najjar said, "Can you hear me?" Chat.
Okay. Thanks so much, Ahmed, for
Okay, I will
paying attention.
read.
Start reading, okay.
The way, which was enough, the way the late sun slanted through the trees at the trail all cross banded with trees,
Yes.
wait, with streaks of
Streaks, yes.
bright light and dark shade. I ran through these bright and dark patches so fast that the changing light nearly blinded me. Then suddenly I raced out into the open where I could see ahead, and what I saw sent chill clear through
Yes.
to the marrow of my bones.
Yes,
There
complete
was
reading.
a little Arliss down in that spring hole again. He was lying half in and half out of the water, holding onto the hind leg of a little black bear cub no bigger than
You
a
know what
small
does it
palm.
mean by hind leg?
What?
Do you know what the meaning of this word? Hand leg. Hand leg.
Leg?
Leg, leg, hand leg.
No.
It means the back part of leg. Okay, the back part. Mean the back. Hint means the back part. Yes, complete.
Complete, okay. The bear cub was out on the bank, whimpering and crying and throwing the rocks with all three of his other feet, trying to pull away. But little Arliss was holding on for all he was worth, scared now and screaming his head off. Too scared to let go. How the bear cub ever came to prowl close enough for little Arliss to
That's
grab
enough
him.
for you, Ahmed Musanna. Thanks so much, Ahmed. Please mute yourself, okay? And please, if I don't take care of any message, you can tell me as you did before. Thanks so much, Ahmed Musanna. Yes, I can ask another one to complete reading. Anas Yasser. Anas.
Yes, Mister. Yes.
Yes, my dear. Start reading. Anas, why you join with two accounts?
Mister, I am Amr. Yeah, Mister. Why did you unmute me?
Why you make your name Anas, not Amr?
No, my name is Amr. I swear.
But okay, I saw two accounts for Anas. Anas Yasser.
Okay.
Anas.
Mister, he is the first one.
Okay, Anas, let's see. Okay. And yes, Anas. Anas.
Yes, mister.
Yes, can you speak up and start reading, please?
What?
Speak up, raise your voice.
Okay, mister. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's okay. Make the mic close to your mouth.
Okay, mister.
Yes, my dear.
What?
Yes, my dear. How the bear? Start reading.
How the bear cub ever came to prowl close enough for the little Arliss to grab him. I don't know, and why he didn't turn on him and bite loose. I couldn't figure out either unless he was like little Arliss too scared to think.
Yes.
But all of that didn't matter now. What mattered was the bear cub's mama. She'd hear
With Anas.
the cries of her baby.
Sam. Please mute yourself. Yes, Anas. Yes, Anas, complete reading.
She'd heard the cries of her baby and was coming to save him. She was coming so fast that she had the brush popping and breaking
Yes.
as she crashed through and over it. I could see her black heavy figure peeling off down
Piling off.
the slant,
Again. Piling off down.
piling off down the slant on the far side of Birdsong Creek. She was roaring mad and ready to kill. And the worst of all,
Okay, thanks so much, Anas. Anas, thanks so much, Anas. Well done, Anas. Thanks so much. Okay, Abdullah Nagar, have you solved your problem with the mic? Abdullah Nagar? No, why not he mute himself? Okay, Yusuf Sawi. Yusuf?
Yes.
Yes, Habib. Complete reading. Complete reading. And worst of all, I could see that I'd never get there in time. This paragraph, okay? This time.
What, Mister?
Read this paragraph. And worst of all, can you see? Yusuf.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Huh?
But little Alice was holding on for all he
Listen,
was
listen,
was
Yusuf, please. Read from this paragraph. Okay, sorry. Okay, but all of this one read. Okay, no problem if you read it again. Okay, but all. Huh. Okay, start this.
but little Alice was holding on for all he was scared now and screaming. His head off too scared too late too late go.
Yusuf,
Have
please.
the
Yusuf,
beer
listen.
cup ever
Yusuf, listen to me.
what?
You can see the paragraph that I point highlight on it. That start with, but all of that.
No,
But
I
all of
could
that.
not see.
Okay, page 34. The paragraph before the last one. The paragraph before the last one. Okay, but all of that didn't matter now. Have you found Yusuf? Yusuf,
No, I am seeing it.
you can see the screen? Okay, I'll use the intonation to help you see it. Okay, so this one, I mean this paragraph. Okay, you can see? Now you can see?
No, I cannot see the
I
change
put
screen.
this mark. Okay, stop sharing and share it with you again. Yusuf. Now can you see the screen? Huh? Yusuf.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, this
But
paragraph.
all of that
Yes, this one.
didn't matter now. What mattered was the bear cub's mama. She had
No, she'd heard
heard the cries of her baby and was coming to save him. She was coming so fast that she had the brush popping and breaking as she
crashed through.
as she crashed through and over it. I could see her black heavy figure peeling off down the slant on the far side of
Huh?
Birdsong Creek. She was roaring, mad and ready to kill. And
Yes.
worst of all, I could see that I'd ever get there in time. Mama couldn't either. She'd
She'd hear Ernest too.
heard Alice too, and here
And
she
here,
came.
listen. And here,
And here
she came from. Yes,
and
complete.
here she came from the cabin running down the slant toward the spring, screaming at Alice, telling him to turn the beer cup loose, but
But
little
little
Alice
Ernest.
wouldn't do it. All he'd
Yes.
do was hang with that hand
Hind leg.
leg and let out one shrill
Shrek after another as fast as he could suck in a breeze.
Yusuf, again, we say hind leg, okay? Hind leg. All he do
Hind
was
leg,
hang with that hind leg. Hind leg, what does it mean?
hind leg.
The back part of the leg. And let out one shriek after another as fast as he could suck in a breath. Thanks so much, Yusuf. You can mute yourself. You can mute yourself, Yusuf. Thanks so much, Yusuf. We are going to start from the beginning again. Muhyiddin, okay, Muhi, you read now. Start reading, Muhi.
Yes,
From the
Mr.
beginning,
From where?
page 32. Let me go back and we can go on reading. Page 32.
Okay. Start
Just
reading.
wait for me to move for page 32. Yes. Start to read, yes. All of which I figure.
All of which I figure is what led up to letting our cat eat the bee. I think Mama had let him kill so many big plans about his catching this name that hadn't begun
Please,
to be.
Wahi, speak up. You are a man. Speak up. Raise your voice. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, my dear.
To believe them himself. When it happened, I was down the creek. I was letting Fred to fix up the yard fence where the bulls had torn it down. I hadn't been down there since dinner walking in a stand of tall,
Yes.
flying booths of oak. I hadn't chopped down a trim of
Yes.
the branches as far up as I wanted, then cut away the rest of the top. After that I didn't
I
start
I
splitting
I
the log.
start splitting the log. Thanks so much, Mahi. Muhammad Amr, have you read before Muhammad? Muhammad Amr. Okay,
Mister, can I
I
go
ask
to
you.
drink water fast?
Okay, but mute yourself.
Can I go to drink water?
Yes,
Yes,
mister, but I have a question only.
yes,
Can I go to the bathroom very fast?
yes, Muhammad. What's your question?
Can I go to the bathroom very fast?
This is a question, okay? You are joking, Muhammad? You can send me on the chatting room and ask me about this request, okay? You can go now, no problem. Okay, take it. Just a minute, please, Muhammad, okay? And come back. Yes, the one who didn't read, Negi. Yes, Negi.
Yes, Mister.
Start from the third paragraph. I'd split the log by driving steel wedges. Huh. You can
Okay.
see? Yes, start please.
I'd
Yes.
start.
I'd
I'd
split.
start. I'd start splitting the log.
No,
I'd
no,
split.
this one. I'd split the log. Huh.
I'd split the log by driving steel wedges into the wood. I'd start at the big end and hammer in a wedge with the back side of my axe.
Of my axe. Huh. This
Axe.
would, yes.
This would start a little split running lengthways.
Length way. G silent here. Length way.
Lengthway.
Again. Again.
Lengthway.
No, no, G silent. So I can say
Length.
lengthways. No, 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 there's no G sound.
Lengthways.
Lengthways. Huh.
Lengthways. Then I take a second wedge and drive it
I take second
into
wedge. Huh.
this split. This would split the log further along and at the same time losing the first wedge. I'd then knock the first wedge loose and move it up in front of the second one. driving one wedge ahead of the other like that. I could finally split a log in two halves.
Yes.
Then,
Then I'd
then,
go.
then I'd go,
Yes.
then I'd go to work
To where? On the halves. Huh?
splitting them apart. That way, from each log, I'd come out with four rails.
Thanks so much, Negi. We can select, you can mute yourself, Negi, and you can select Muhammad Hassan. Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad Hassan.
Yes,
Yes, can you read?
yes,
Hmm.
yes.
From swinging.
Swinging that shopping eggs
That
was sure.
again. Swinging that.
Swinging the shopping
Chopping.
eggs.
Again, listen. Chopping.
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 Chopping. What does it
Chopping.
mean, chopping?
To cut.
Excellent. Yes, to cut down something. Yes, like the vegetables, fruits, any material can be said chopping.
Mister, it is the time of science period, and Mr.
Excellent.
Ibrahim is in.
No. Mr. Ibrahim, there is a new time for the session. So your session will start at 3:40. Mr. Ibrahim, can you listen to me? Sorry, asking him. Okay, I think that he listened to me, but I'm opening the mic from Mr. Ibrahim. Yes, yes, Mr. Ibrahim. Mr. Ibrahim, can you hear me? Okay, still 3 minutes.
Mr.
Yes,
Hamada.
Mr. How are you, Mr. Ibrahim? Still 3 minutes to start the new session. There's a new time, Mr. Ibrahim.
Okay,
New
Mr.
time.
Hamada.
Okay.
Take your
You are-
Alhamdulillah, fine, Mr.
Thanks, Mr. Ibrahim. Okay. The one who was reading, who is he?
I am Muhammad Hassan. I was
Yes,
reading.
Muhammad. Yes, Muhammad Hassan. Sorry. Complete reading, Muhammad. Yes.
Swinging that shopping as was sure hard work. The sweet part of me. My back muscle aged.
The
axe
axe
got
got
so
so heavy. Yes.
I could hardly swing it.
Yes.
My breath got harder and harder to
breathe.
breathe.
To breathe. Huh?
breathe.
An hour before. Huh? An hour
An hour,
before.
an hour before sundown, I was worn down and up. It seemed like I could another lick. Baba could have lasted till past sundown, but
Yes.
I didn't see how
How?
I could.
Yes.
I
I
could
shouldered. Yes. I shouldered.
shoulder my axe and
This means
started
that he
to
put his axe on his shoulder, huh? And started toward, huh?
the cabin,
The cabin. Huh?
the cabin, trying to think up so
Some excuse.
to tell Mama to keep her from knowing
I
I
was,
was played here out.
yes, thanks so much, Muhammad Hassan. The last one, you have only 1 minute. We have just a minute, okay, for reading Omar Mahmoud. Omar Mahmoud. Omar Mahmoud, can you start?
Yes, Mister. Yes, Mister.
Yes, Omar. Huh.
Mister, I
That's
didn't
when,
touch the
that's
book.
when, okay, you can read from the screen.
That's when,
That's when, huh?
that's when I heard the little earless scream.
Yes.
Well, a little
Well,
earless
Little Arliss
was
was a screamer by nature.
he he he
He'd scream, he'd scream, he'd scream. Okay, the session finished. We are going to complete reading tomorrow. Don't forget that you have spelling and phonics quiz. Okay, be ready and study the vocabulary, the file that I sent on the group for the vocabulary with synonym, antonym, and definition. Okay. Okay, my dear grade 6, be ready for the quiz. Study the synonym, the antonym, and the meaning of each word. You understand what I said?
Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, my
Mister.
best students. I give the notes from Mr. Rahim. Thanks so much for listening, my dear.
Tomorrow.